Yeah, so I'm sitting in a bar with Roger Schmidt from Brickhouse Guitars, and he's like, I can make a new guitar. I can design another instrument. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure you can. I bet you can just do that, can't you? He's like, yeah, hold my beer. But it wasn't really a beer. It was like an old Maxwell House coffee tin filled with picks or Lee press-on nails or I don't know what was in there. Or some. Who writes this
Guitar Stuff with John.
Welcome to another Guitar Stuff with John. Boy, have I got something to show you today. If you haven't already heard me talk about Roger Schmidt from Brickhouse Guitars in Kitchener, Ontario, you're going to hear me talk about him now. I haven't had enough coffee. Anyhow, the man's a tastemaker. That's what we call him. He's like, I don't know. He's like the Yoda of making guitars great for people. He finds builders and designers and companies and all kinds of things he works with on a daily basis for the last 25 years with one purpose in mind. And that is bringing a guitar to the guitar playing public that will boggle their mind for less money than they would pay for anything, right? Like he just knows how to get the best out of a builder for a price point that makes it super appealing for guitar players, right? And he's been doing it for years. He's worked with Ferk. He's worked with even worked with Boucher in designing a guitar for SGI International, Stonebridge Guitars International, which is his company that he uses to promote the idea of fingerstyle players, fingerstyle guitar building, all those things. One of the reasons Roger does this so well is because Roger's also a monstrous guitar player. He just actually released his first solo album just a few days ago. And I would check it out. It's on Spotify. Just search Roger Schmidt. You'll find it. The guy's a monster, right? So it's no surprise to me when he says to me one day, I've struck a partnership with one of the world's greatest tuner of tops, a man who can hand tune tops and does 300 or 400 of them a year. He's learned from the masters. He's in Singapore, and you've heard me talk about this man too, Hosen Young from Maestro Guitars. So Roger comes to me and says, okay, he's going to build my dream guitar for my players. I'm going to design an instrument with Hosen that can't be beat for what it is and what it's for. Here it is, right? So he shows me these guitars. And indeed, my friends, they blew my face off. And I'm going to show you an instrument here that I've never owned one of these in my life. And I've looked at them in the past and thought, that's mighty strange. I'm not sure how I get along with that. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't even come into play. And I'm going to show you what I mean. This is the Avenir fan fret built by Hosen Young for Roger Schmidt. This is Roger's dream fingerstyle guitar design. And buddy, they killed this. They just blew this out of the park. It's an astounding instrument. And there's so many appointments in this thing that it's going to take a while to go through them all. But I'll just go over the basics here first. Number one, get Engelmann spruce top. As I said before, it's a fan fretboard, 1 3/4 inch nut. It's Wenge back and sides, which is finished in an open pore gloss, which is just gorgeous. It has a bunch of stuff about it that make it extremely special. There's two different types of bracing systems in these Avenirs. and they both explore the tonal differences of the tops that they use. So you can choose from two different bracing styles. The kerfing inside the guitar, and this is amazing. Kerfing is like that. I'll show it to you when we look closely, but it's that binding strip of wood that fastens the top and sides together. It reinforces. It's all around the outside of the top and the back. Normally, you look in there and you see that it looks like hundreds of individual tiny pieces of wood, because it's a single piece split to a certain level, in a line, and when you bend it, the openings come open, so you can make it any shape you want. They've put the kerfing in this guitar backwards, with the openings facing the seam. What it does is it creates a snare drum effect on the top and the back, and it's incredibly difficult to install, because if you just glue the whole thing, you'd have glue spraying out everywhere. So each individual piece has to be glued. It's all built with hot hide glue. Like, that's another thing that it just doesn't happen anymore. This guitar will never come apart. Hot hide glue. The entire construction has a sound port. Comes with an SGI pickup installed, as I've talked to you about before. Bone, nut, and saddle. The beautiful Goto 510 tuners, you can see there. And this thing is an absolute beast, designed for fingerstyle or just about anything else you want to do on it as well. Wow. This guitar is just it's absolutely ridiculous. Knowing where it comes from, right? It's coming off of Hosan's bench. Hosan Maestro guitars, right? They're just building unbelievable instruments, and this is one of them. Just an unbelievably voiced guitar. Definitely built for fingerstyle players. I wish I could play more music on these videos, but every time I do, I get copyright dinged, so I can't really play too much on the line of tunes on these review videos, but take my word for it, this thing does everything it's supposed to. There's no question. And the scary thing is that this fan fret neck, when I first thought about it, I was like, how am I going to get around that? What's it going to do to my attack, to my this, that? It does nothing. You don't even notice it. The only thing that does, it somehow creates a sonic environment where low notes and low tunings stay present more than a standard fretboard. And I can vouch for that as well. It's just like when you fret that low string, it just pokes out all the time. And it has to do with the scale, and it has to do with the angle of the frets. And I used to think it's a gimmick, but it's not. There's actually something really different about this instrument that I've never seen on any other guitar I've owned, and it's the fan fret, for sure. It's just something you have to play it to realize, wow, that's really cool. Now, the only drawback, okay, if you're a sort of a jack of all trades player like me, this thing won't hold a capo well. It'll hold a Kaiser, but obviously you're having to angle the Kaiser to fit, especially down here, to angle to fit the fret angle. It works, but it's still not what I would prefer. And I don't think anybody's ever actually invented a fan fret capo, right? Which they should. There should definitely be something like that. But with that being said as well, the whole point of the fan fret is to do, heavy-duty fingerstyle stuff. That's what it's for. And those kind of players don't use capos, hardly ever. So, yeah, it's just an incredible instrument. Now, take a close look at it. There's still a lot more for me to tell you about it. That's really cool. So, yeah, let's take a look at the Avenir from Brickhouse Guitars in Kitchener, Ontario. Okay, here we are with the Avenir from Bridgeport Guitars in Kitchener, Ontario. It's Brickhouse. Made of bricks, like your head, you idiot. Roger Schmidt on fire with this design. Built by Hose & Young to Roger's specifications. There's his SGI logo. It has beautiful headstock, all mahogany. Goto 510 tuners, antique butterbean. They work like a charm. Because if you're buying this guitar, you're definitely intending to be tuning a lot, dropping into open tunings and all that stuff. So there we have our bone nut, ebony fingerboard with no markings whatsoever. Fan fret design. Yeah, Fran Fett. Who is that? Boba's sister. You see all the way down to the tail. You can see that from here. It looks really cool. It's very disconcerting to see it. It's like, wow, what's wrong with that? But guess what? It's supposed to be that way. Anyhow, go down to the body, and we see this wicked Engelmann top. Beautifully grained. We have a nice, I believe that's walnut around the sound hole. There's our Avenir sticker. Handcrafted and voiced by Hose & Young. Produced in collaboration with Stonebridge Guitars International. It's the Model 25. So yeah, it's a really cool partnership he's got. We see this beautiful bridge with elongated wings, and they're hand carved. You can see I love that bit. It removes material from the bridge in a very positive way. You get beautiful wood pegs, accented with brass and abalone, bone saddle. And then around the side and back, we have, well, first of all, we get a nice sound port right there, which is reinforced by hardwood inside. You can see some of the bracing. I like this. And see some of the reverse kerfing off there on the distance. And the back, Wenge back and sides. And you can see the open pore in the finish. I'm convinced this is one of the reasons the guitar sounds so good, because it's such a light finish. Open pore is something that's becoming quite popular now with builders. So there we go, all bound in walnut, I believe is what he's told us. Beautifully done, beautifully done. Now another thing about this guitar that's super, super cool, it has a two-way truss system in it, but as well, it has two strips of carbon fiber up the sides of the truss system. So what that means is that it's gonna, when you tune this guitar, the neck is way more stable. When you do drop tunings, it doesn't pull the other strings out of tune because of those two strips of carbon fiber rods up the middle of the neck beside the truss system. See this beautiful gloss mahogany? Beautiful. Zero end cap, also walnut. Yeah, so the carbon inside the neck keeps the neck really stable, so that when you're tuning it, dropping C's and D's and all these weird tunings you're going to use with a guitar like this, it keeps the neck super straight, super level, super stable, so you're not dealing with a lot of sympathetic untuning. You know, when you drop the big E string, the little strings tend to go sharp. It doesn't happen on this guitar. It's just so well designed. It's absolutely unbelievable. It has an SGI pickup system in it. And yeah, she's a beauty, just a beautiful guitar. I've seen this guitar, used live on stage. I've used this. Dave Gunning has one, which is actually a satin finish version of this, without the fan fret. It was general consensus at that time that guitar was one of the best sounding instruments that he had ever played on stage. Now, mind you, he did have some problems EQing it because it's so powerful. This guitar is like, there's no, how do I say this? There's nothing that sticks out on this guitar. Every single frequency is just on stun. So it would be very difficult for some players, to possibly carve it the way they want it. This guitar is going to give you 100% of every frequency that it produces. It's just incredibly voiced. And I've had it now for months. It hasn't moved a lick. It's just a great guitar. So there's the Avenir Model 25, designed by Roger Schmidt, Brickhouse Guitars, built by the one and only Hosen Young in Singapore. So there's the Avenir. At this price point, which is around, these guitars hover around the $3,000 mark, somewhere below or above it, I'm not sure. As I said before, a lot of guitar companies are experiencing a flux in pricing because there was a huge spike in sales of guitars during the pandemic. So I would call Brickhouse and find out what his pricing is on these things, but they are definitely less than going to, let's say, I don't know, any builder and going, I want to build this guitar, these appointments. If you're paying in US dollars, you're going to pay more than you're going to pay for this. I can tell you that right now. And it's a work of art. This thing is a work of art. And Roger chose this design with being a utilitarian, highly efficient, beautiful sounding instrument, without the bling, without the complications. He just made a great looking guitar. And That's the deal. That's what Roger does. He goes out and he finds ways to create instruments like this and then put them in your hands as a guitar player. So we kind of owe Roger a little bit of a debt there. He's still pushing every single day to get the next newest thing up and running. So yeah. How many ways can JP destroy that one lick? I don't know. But anyhow, here we go. Avenir. Man, check him out. Brickhouse Guitars, Kitchener, Ontario. Call Roger Schmidt and say, I want to see one of those. And he'll show you one. Thanks a lot, guys. Good to have you back. Keep picking, keep playing. That's the important thing. Love you. Bye.